Today I'm going to build a fast wool farm to fill up this part of my storage, as well as 14 other farms before we ultimately reach 4,000 days played in the world by the end of this video. And this is my current wool farm. It works, and there's nothing wrong with it, it just never has any wool. Now that I'm using ender pearls to chunk load the shulker farm, I'm just never here. And when I first built this wool farm, I would have to wait here for shulkers anyway. Now I just don't. I have over 60 shulkers of shells here and back in storage, more than I'll likely ever need. And this wool farm is also good, don't get me wrong. If you're looking for a good wool farm, this one by Borkin has served me well for over 3,500 days, and I highly recommend it. But today we're going to build one that's much more efficient per sheep and makes the old one feel slow in comparison. Also, I can chunk load the new sheep farm a lot easier and it will run all the time. I'm using the space I freed up by removing ENX04's tree farm last time and centering this on a chunk so I can easily keep it loaded later. This farm design by Ashlaja relies on bone meal to grow grass, and sheep can eat the grass, not just the grass blocks, so they never have to wait on the grass blocks to regrow, which will speed up their wool collection. It also costs bone meal, but after building the tree complex, that's not a worry now. Wool's useful to me for a number of reasons, but primarily it's great for outlining and planning builds. We're getting close to finishing our first city build, but that means a lot more planning coming up after that, and I want wool to make that a lot easier. Also, I do use banners around the city, and as we do more decor and wrap up the first build project, that's even more likely to be useful. Wool's a great texturing block, of course, and I do use a lot of carpet. I'm starting by building storage, as we often do. I'm going to have one shulker loader for every color of wool, as I think that's enough. There are times when I may miss a couple of blocks, but over the course of hours it's not going to matter at all. White wool will be the most common, but my plan is to add 96 sheep total to this farm. It'll be 5 of each of the other 15 colors and 21 white. Dyeing the wool later is easy if I need to, so just starting with a bunch of white sheep is fine. I often have farms break when new updates are released, but this one's actually going to be a bit of the opposite, so let me praise Mojang while I can. Giving us random tick and loaded chunks opens up a ton of ideas, such as the amethyst farm and the sheep farm, which can be constantly loaded now. The iron farm is a good example of how much we can get of a resource if it's loaded full time for thousands of days. And ender pearl chunk loading is another big game changer, so while I often sound negative toward them, let me say thanks for the positive changes. I'm nearly done building this part of the farm, though there's still plenty to be done. Why is this? What? Wait. Why are you spitting chests at me? Ah, easy fix. There we go. What was I saying? This is a shulker box crafter, and if you saw my tree complex video, you've already seen me use one of these, but essentially, I want this wool farm to manage itself for hundreds of hours. I don't want to have to refill shulkers, I don't want to have to refill shears or bone meal either, so I'm going to add a lot of automation and quality of life to this farm. Speaking of which, my goal now is basically to drop sheep into these holes here. There will be 24 per pod, and there are 4 total pods, but I have 0 total sheep. And on this end here is a shulker unloader. This will take shulkers from the tree complex and unload them automatically into each pod, so I don't ever have to touch the bone meal supply. This hopper line will back up and eventually this will all be full. I plan to simply walk the sheep into each pod once we get them, so to do that I'm building the simplest little staircase here, and to breed them I'm just going to create a little pen off to the side so I can walk them up and in. And that should do. Now it'll be fairly painless to walk them up this staircase and drop them in those holes. And sheep are obviously extremely common, so getting a few near the ocean was easy, and once in a boat I can simply lead these 2 back where I need them to go. Leashable boats are a huge quality of life change, so once again, praises on that change. See, I can be fair. With 2 sheep here now, it's simply a matter of time before I'll have enough to fill the farm. All I need is a minute with the nano crop farm and I'll have more wheat than I could ever need. I think the next part of what happened is understandable. While waiting in between breedings, there isn't a lot to do, so I started cleaning up the island a bit and preparing for our future. The first goal was to remove the old stone and cobblestone generator, and then run a bunch of farms in the area. Another breeding, and then another farm to run, this time the dry grasses, bushes, glowberries, and even the cobblestone farm. It's It's not very often I get to run this, so when I do, I try to really enjoy it. After more breeding, then I emptied the bone meal out of the bamboo farm and started dismantling that. This is a farm that I also have on the tree complex now, so I don't need a second one here. 96 sheep is a lot, so it was more breeding again, and again, and again. And now we have a decent supply of sheep. I don't know why they love this one corner though. If you've never seen me move mobs like this before, this may seem like a strange way to do it, but I love to simply yoink mobs out of pens by pillaring above them, in this case just climbing on the island itself. No gates, no flying, just yoink and here they come. Getting the first few mobs in is always the hardest part. Once you understand how it's going to work, the rest becomes a lot easier, but the first ones are always a trick, like, do I need to push them? Will they walk in with the wheat? Should I keep them on the lead? There's just so many questions that you don't really know yet. I found that with the shape of the hole the way that I have it here, if I get them into the low area, I can just push them around the corner while staying up against the wall, and then it gets really easy later. One last breeding should ensure I have enough. And with the colorful sheep, it was simply a matter of getting them up on the island, dyeing them there, and then moving them in. And that should be all of them now. I've recovered the holes, the farms are getting bone meal, the auto shear refilling system is working great and I won't have to think about shears breaking all the time, and I'm getting tons of wool already. I'm going to add one of each to these just to label them. Here's a question for you. What is your color order in Minecraft? Do you do what I do or something else? And if so, in which way are you wrong? I'll accept it if you say your white goes to black instead of black to white like I do. Alright, let's watch the farm run for a minute. It's looking pretty fast to me. Maybe I should say that with it on 100% speed, not 400% speed, it's fine. My next 3 farms are ones that will just let us tick them off the list, I guess. I want to build a tripwire hook, string, and carpet duper. And yes, I know the string duper won't work, but I want this world to have every farm in it, and since I started in 1.20, it should have a string duper in it. It'll be more like a string duper gravestone now, though. This first farm is a tripwire hook duper. It may not seem like this is valuable, but tripwire hooks replaced string dupers as a way to trade for emeralds after 1.21.2. And even though I don't need thousands of tripwire hooks for trades, they make nice decor, especially for interiors, and I do manage to go through a few hundred here and there for farms. I know some of you are purists and against duping, but this is an overpowered technical world and most technical worlds operate slightly differently than purist vanilla. But don't worry, I'll do a purist series eventually. Alright, let me run this for a minute. What's a couple thousand tripwire hooks between friends, right? Okay, the second of these machines is the defunct string duper. One of my most important goals in this world is to build a farm for basically every single thing in the game. Sure, my general mob farm already gets string, so does bartering. This is just a reminder of the past and something technical worlds used to thrive with. It's probably good that stuff like this gets patched, but I did enjoy it for what it was at the time. Okay, RIP to the string duper, you probably won't be missed by many, but that's alright. And finally for the machine section here, I'm going to quickly build a bunch of carpet dupers. A lot of people use these to power their furnace arrays, but I don't want it for that. I just want the carpet here and there. I can get it from the wool farm, or I can come down here and turn these on for a few seconds. Again, it's more about having this in the world than needing it at this point. And these work by flashing a stack of carpets above a coral fan, and for basically the same reason coral can duplicate TNT in tree farms, the same thing works here. I'm going to quickly finish these off and let there be carpet. For the rest of today's projects, we're moving into what I would call decor farms. With our main city being hopefully completed over the coming episodes, it's important to me that I have a lot of renewable decorative blocks for when I get to the city's final touches. The first of these is going to be a warped and crimson nylium farm. With this farm, I can bone meal the netherrack that I'd get from, say, ancient debris hunting and turn it straight into either nylium type. And while I probably won't use a lot of warped nylium in the city, the red from the crimson could definitely come in handy. It's not an overly complicated machine, but it drops me more netherrack back as I convert the one in my hand. And I can silk touch that and get the nylium. And like a lot of farms today, this requires a bunch of bone meal, so it wasn't really a smart build until after I had the incredible bone meal farm, but now that we have that at the tree complex, it's great. Alright, let's give this a flick, and then we have, well, once I figure out how does this work? Wait, stop. Okay, okay. Yes, now we have a nylium converter. Staying with the theme of bone meal powered farms, I'm going to add a pale hanging moss farm here next to the hanging roots farm. And yeah, I'm aware we're starting to run out of space on the Mushroom Island, but I'm going to squeeze every ounce of room I can out of this thing. I'd rather build here because once this island is full, I plan to make a new perimeter for a bunch of future farms, and I don't want to do that yet, nor do I have time before 4,000 days. As it is, I'm already starting to count the days that I have left. I know I'm running low if I want everything done before 4,000, I still have one more fairly big farm to make at the end of today's video. Getting pale hanging moss is actually pretty simple. You're basically just applying bone meal to the hanging moss to create more, and then shearing the space below it. It's the same as a lot of these other small bone meal farms. And as with all the farms in today's video, any links and credits are always in the description so you can find these and build them for yourself, at least if you're on Java. I don't know how anything works on Bedrock, sorry. Okay, after adding bone meal and shears, when I turn this on, you'll see I'm just above the glass, right in this little space between the top moss and the glass to hit the lower moss. That's the spot, now we're off. The only item we can't get from the Pale Garden now is the Eye Blossom, both the open and closed version. You can't bone meal it directly to get more in either variant. Our only option is to come to the Pale Garden. Thankfully I have coordinates and screenshots now for a few of these, including the one that was close to spawn that I missed when we first went looking. I hear some creaking down below, and after clearing a few of these guys out, I can get to work. So getting Eye Blossoms is actually pretty easy once you're in a Pale Garden. I've used this flower farm design at least 6 times in the world so far, probably more. It's by Nevermind Flame, and I first found it in IanXO4's tree farm video to use as my nether fungi farm. And it works exactly the same here as it does in our Blue Orchid, Lily of the Valley, and Tulip farms. I can make this off of the top of my head in seconds at this point, as long as the land around me is cooperating. And from the bone meal dispenser, I always run a line of hoppers into the back here. This farm produces excess wheat seeds and needs the bone meal refilled, so I'll add a barrel for direct bone meal, as well as later a composter setup for the seeds. And then it's just the redstone bits. Block there, some redstone dust going in this way into this block, and behind here, another redstone line, going up to this solid block here. We're going to put a comparator on subtract here and put a lever behind it, and it should work. And now as long as that dispenser has bone meal, it's going to be good. This farm isn't loud, I've only turned it down 80%. Okay, let's collect all the drops now, fix up the bone meal setup, and then throw these wheat seeds in to be composted. And then flick that. Now at night you'll see the Eye Blossoms open. I wanted to test and then show you that even if you run the farm at night and it produces the open ones, the ones that drop are still closed. You can punch the open ones to collect them, so that works, but you aren't getting those automatically. And you can see that I've collected a few of the open, but mainly it's all the closed Eye Blossoms. I learn a lot when I build farms by people who are smarter than me, and this grass farm by I Hate Falling Blocks is no exception. We're using the way that we are positioned on a bamboo raft that is in a minecart to give ourselves 5 blocks of reach in vanilla instead of 4. So yeah, it looks unnatural, but I promise this is pure vanilla mechanics here. No mods or changes, I'm reaching 5 blocks with the shears, and this increases the efficiency of the farm significantly. And by building this farm in a mushroom fields biome, flowers won't spawn, meaning it's fully grass at maximum efficiency. I actually designed one of my own short grass farms for this, but when I saw this one I changed my mind. Not only is this about 20 to 30% better rates with the raft trick, it's just way cooler. And grass may not seem like the most necessary farm, but there's no way I want to go around my city bone mealing, then removing flowers, removing grass that I don't want and all that. It's actually way easier, more controlled, and saves a ton of time to just plant the grass you do want exactly where you want it. And while that was a pretty nice little farm by I Hate Falling Blocks, this next one of theirs is super clever. What I really love about this farm is the entry and leaving methods, as both have been pretty well planned. To get into the farm, I enter this minecart and then leave it. That puts me in the middle here. Optimizing for ferns means all these dispensers can then surround it, so finding a way to get into that middle bit required some smart thinking. And while I can get out with some neat flying, there's a better way. Dispenser, chest boat, leaf block, waterlog that, lever here. And then if I flick that, remove that, break that, and break that, I can then drop down here and get into the farm, and then look straight up and get out of the farm. And why do I think that all matters? Well, because it doubles as bone meal refilling for the entire farm at the same time. Told you, it's clever. Alright, let's run this. Why are my dispensers not dispensing? Ah, there's a second lever. I'm also super clever. Now let's get some ferns. Not that this farm is incredibly loud or anything, but how about I muffle the sounds a little bit? This mod is called Extreme Sound Muffler, and if you aren't using it, I don't understand why not. It makes the gold farm, enderman farms, 6x shulker loaders, and shulker farms bearable at all. Okay, back to this. Okay, yeah, I'll need to add storage to this later. I haven't done that part yet. Oops. That was 9 stacks of that, and very fast, so we're good for now. And with the majority of these farms taking a lot of bone meal to run, it was time for a quick detour to the tree complex to load it back up. Looks like I have about 70 shulkers of bone meal, and while that probably feels like a lot, it won't by the end of the video, as we'll have used at least that much to start and load the remaining farms. While I compressed this into bone blocks to make transporting it back easier, I also ran the farm for even more. And since I'm asked every time I do this on camera, the mod for throwing everything out like this is item scroller. I know there's a better hotkey than the way I do it, this is just habit and it's easiest for me. For my next farm, I need some potions, and while I do have 16 auto potion brewers in my storage, they're all set to other recipes, so I decided a little home renovation would be okay for now. Adding a brewer here let me get a full shulker of 2 potions I'm going to need for the next farm, Infestation and Weaving. The next farm is going to be a cobweb farm, and I'm excited for this one. I actually really enjoy cobwebs, and not only are they great for item alignment in farms and storages, they're also used in the city for decor already, especially around the waterfall. I'd love to have an automatic cobweb farm now that the potion makes them renewable. I saw this simple looking tutorial that basically copied out the SB737 cobweb farm, but, well, I don't know, let's get into it, you'll see. I love how easy this farm looks. It was a few hoppers, some mud, a campfire surrounded by fences. You drop armadillos or LAs in to take damage after being splashed with the infestation potion, splash the silverfish with the weaving potion, and then kill them by hitting an armor stand. It's a really simple concept. I decided to go with LAs, and breeding them is nothing if not a bit of fun. Yeah, apparently I just like this one music disc as well. I seem to use it every time I need to do this. I'm going to skip a bit of the farm here as it wasn't necessary to show you, but moving LAs is easy enough across the nether roof and then into this hole. The LAs are taking damage, the potions are ready, and I thought at least I should give this a little test. And from here I just don't know what went wrong. I was eventually able to get a few extra cobwebs from this, but the silverfish just escaped everywhere at all times. I was pretty sure I followed the tutorial exactly. This is my 120th farm in the world, not my first. I know how to do this. I worked on fixing it a few times, but honestly, no matter what I did, I couldn't make it work. Maybe I would have had to change how I handled LAs versus armadillos or something, and a few pixels of alignment that could have helped, but yeah, I just tore it down in frustration. I'm short on days to complete this video, and the last thing I needed was, oh, I don't know, 20 loose silverfish on my industrial island, the main place that I work in? After going back to the drawing board and testing several things in creative, I simply chose a different farm design. Even in creative, I couldn't make the other one work, even with armadillos and zombies. This farm is by Matt. That's his Discord name. I'll link it. Anyways, the farm probably needs a bit of rewiring as you'll see, but inside is really simple and kind of funny. The water stream pushes you back and forth, and when you get to the other side, you're simply activating a different one that turns the first side off and pushes you back like this. It's kind of smart as you need to be moving very slowly inside this farm, but this one little trick with the water streams makes the entire thing fully AFKable. Let's get it done. We've still got a ton of work to do. What even is this video? When I saw the way the LAs are aligned in here, I knew I either had to show you me doing this in survival, or some of you would think I cheesed this in with creative and spawn eggs or something, because it's a very strange way to do it, and it looks way harder than it is. I'm going to trap the LAs onto this chest, which has a slightly lower hitbox than the glass, and by pushing a stair in over the top of them, it basically pins them in place in a way that feels odd. LAs are well known for their ability to phase through blocks, escape tight situations, and they hate being suffocated or taking damage, so they freak out. Their AI is probably some of the worst in the game. I didn't believe this was going to be easy myself, so let me just show you. I made this little area to start the process, and once you get all the LAs holding an item and up here together, this part gets a lot simpler. Okay, I said simpler, not simple. They're still LAs. They do what they want to do. Okay, let's push this closing block down one, and you can see they're just on the chest near the stairs. Okay, if they escape at this point, it's at least what I expected. It's fine, let's do this. Okay, when I remove this block, one of two things happens. One is good, one is a lot less good. Okay, they aren't leaving immediately. I think it worked. That was surprisingly easier than I thought. With the hard part out of the way, the rest of this went smoothly. A water bucket here is how we'll damage the LAs. Infestation will spawn silverfish that get pushed down the water and over this trap door. And when they accumulate on the trapdoor, the timing on this clock will splash them with a weaving potion before the trapdoor opens to drop them into and through the lava. They'll be on fire, but see me on the other side of the farm, so they're going to run at me, and about 3/4 the way over, they'll die, exploding into cobwebs as they do. And I'm on the other side, mining the cobwebs away, back and forth as we saw before. Alright, let's fill this up with infestation up here, and then weaving back in this dispenser. And we can now see if my long cobweb nightmare is over. You can hear the LAs taking damage from the water and the silverfish are spawning. Having this on the Mushroom Island works because even if the silverfish escape, there are no blocks they can really burrow into and no damage they can really do. And there we go, they've dropped through on fire and boom, exploded into cobwebs. I'll mine those up quickly and we can test a few cycles of this with the F3 and T trick. One thing I really like about this farm is the timings. You'll see that each time I get close to clearing all of the cobwebs, the next batch will come through. This gives me the maximum time to spawn the silverfish in, and then the perfect timing to drop them down and let it run. Let's take a look. This farm may not be super fast or a million cobwebs per hour kind of thing, but it's really good and solid. The multiple clocks and whatnot is a bit much, but this is a super chill, easy farm to run, and it gets me a whole new resource. I wish efficiency shears did more on cobwebs, but sadly they're not even worth using here. Let me turn this clock off, and then if we fly up, I can turn off the water to the LAs. Sometimes in LA-powered farms, the LAs die because they desync during chunk loading, but since this will be off during that, they should stay in place and not die here. And we ended up with nearly 7 stacks of cobwebs from that, a good return for how much we ran it. I'll set up a couple more custom brewers one day to power this though. Our next bone meal powered farm is one for torchflowers. I have tens of thousands of torchflower seeds, but have never had a farm to use them in. The sniffers below my storage have been loaded for over 3,000 days and constantly give me more. So today I'm going to build this little micro farm that gets me thousands of torchflowers per hour back. Let's build this one quickly. Now all I need is to go get some bone meal and the torchflower seeds, and this farm works a lot like a slow nano crop farm, but gives us a really cool looking decor block. This is definitely one of my favorite flowers, and I can see the red and yellow looking great in the city. Just like that, we have a shulker of those and we're ready to move on. For the next 2 farms, I couldn't find one I liked, so I made my own. These are going to be for weeping and twisting nether vines and work a lot like my bamboo farm design does. Drops will mostly fall into the mud and get collected, and while this isn't fully lossless or max speed, blah 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 blah, it's for weeping vines. We're gonna be fine. It's not like it's for cobblestone or iron. Just give me 2 seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Done. Let's add some bone meal. Very simple, very quick farm to build that doesn't require basically any brain power at all. Weeping and twisting vines. Okay, it's not like we're already 30 minutes into a Let's Play video, but let's keep going. I put the next farm over near our tiny villager breeder because we need a villager. This is a villager-powered pitcher plant farm. Basically, the villager does the planting for us and we get the flowers. That will cover both sniffer drops and give us even more plant variety for the city. I've skipped the rest of the build for this, but as you can see, it's about 20 blocks total. There's nothing to watch, really. Once the villager is in, I give him some pitcher pods to get started, and he gives me fully grown pitcher plants back. He's fine, he likes it. He was bored. That guy's been in a boat on this island for over 2,500 days doing nothing. Trust me, this is way better. Next. This is where our sweet berries farm is going to go. Now, I don't technically need this farm. I can use the nano crop farm to do this by simply removing the stairs out of the front of it, but I've never had a fox-powered berry farm, and it's automatic, and it doesn't require bone meal, so here we are. What I'm going to do is create a rail track on this layer, power the powered rails from below on the solid blocks, and then fill it with glass. The cart will collect from the berries above, and the redstone for this unloader will make the cart stop until it's empty on each run. The foxes themselves will be on the slabs above the berries, where they can surprisingly still harvest them, but stay out of the berries themselves. A roof above that keeps them all in, and this one should be fairly straightforward. And then I'm going to leash the first 2 to this fence post while I build the rest of the roof, and then I can break that from outside. With this taiga and the surrounding forest up against the ocean, I didn't expect this to be much trouble. You know when I say I didn't expect this to be much trouble, that it was much trouble, right? In this entire huge taiga and the surrounding forest, I found a grand total of 2 foxes. This one was tucked into the edge here and couldn't run away, but he was really hard to spot. Once home and leashed, I could head out to find the second, and it took me nearly the rest of the Minecraft night to find this one, but down in a ravine, once again hard to spot on the surface, was fox number 2. Now I could probably run the farm with 1, but that's no fun and pretty lonely for that poor fox. Having 2 means I can also breed them if I want more speed in the farm, and let's be honest, when don't I? But having 2 back means I can finish the roof, breed them, and remove the fence post. Pretty soon I had 4, and trust me, that's way more than enough. I'm going to leave the Lightmatica on for this farm as I think it shows the scale of what I was doing here much better than without. I know a lot of people think Lightmatica makes the game easier, and it definitely does in some ways, but it also lets us take on much bigger, more fun projects. You can also see the schematic for this particular farm is really small. The farm itself is super easy to build, but the work itself here was way more, removing plants from the ocean floor, flattening the ground out to a consistent Y level, replanting thousands of kelp all while underwater and constantly drowning is quite the task, so in this case, the work with and without the overlay wasn't that much different, as 95% of the farm was the work itself. And even after clearing all the kelp originally, I needed to gather more just to plant the first layer, but with most of the time-consuming work done, it's time to build the farm itself. Okay, I did have a few problems with the flying machine, as you can see. Unfortunately, I had split this schematic into two and I lined them up wrong. Totally on me, but even with the plans, sometimes things go wrong. The way this farm works is quite simple. The lower flying machine is controlled by a long clock. When it fires, it flies back down and breaks all the kelp just one block from the bottom. The kelp floats to the top, and when the machine gets back to home base, it sends the top flying machine, which uses slime to push away the kelp until it's down to the collection end. Kelp slightly sinks when it gets forced like this, so a bubble column at the end pushes it all up into the collection system. Even though I set this off very early and didn't wait for anything close to a full harvest, we still got stacks and stacks of kelp. I'm pretty sure with a few full harvests I'm going to need a lot more storage, or a better way to do this entirely. The farm does turn off with a simple lever, so that'll be helpful. After the kelp farm was done, I only had one thing left to do: survive the last few days before day 4000. I spent that time productively emptying some of our slow and long-term farms, going out to the tree complex to bring back as many shulkers of wood and bone meal as I possibly could. I used 3 big trips with the chest boat to go, and making sure we had over 7,000 of every log right in storage for the upcoming builds. And I took the time to run even more bone meal through the new farm and combine that into blocks before taking it home, and then went to the gold farm to do some bartering. I had over 30 shulkers of ingots, so I took half to barter for now. And after saving out some ender pearls, that ran for a while for shulkers of blackstone, quartz, crying obsidian, and regular obsidian, and more. I also wanted to give thanks to you guys watching one more time before 4,000 days by catching up on the Dragon Egg project. I'm not sure exactly how many subscribers I'll have by the time this video comes out, but I'm certain it will be over 50,000 as we just hit that mark a couple of days ago. So here I am, 49,999 eggs into the world, and there we go. If you're one of my first 50,000 subscribers, your egg is now on the pile. I still had a couple of days, so I topped up on basalt, then converted a lot of concrete powder to concrete. Like, a lot of concrete powder to concrete. Then I ran the tunnel bore for about 8 more shulkers of cobbled deep slate and some other ores. I thought about these 256 piglins in the old bartering farm, but they're really just causing lag, and I know more than a few of you wanted me to see what happens when you hit them, so this is what happens. And then I finished removing their enclosure as well as the shulker loader that was here. I also dismantled the broken mass crafter so we have more room back in home base. And then with under a day left, I went back to the gold farm for extra levels, and I took one last opportunity to fly around my spawn city, taking in the views and giving my editor plenty of footage to work with for this point in the world's history. That, however, behind me is the sunset of day 3999, and we are now here, where I should be when these milestones happen, on top of the church I slept in on day 0. The city's coming along. The farm progress is incredible, and I'm super happy with our progress again today. All of these decor farms will be valuable in the next 1,000 days, because my plan, and I'll say it right here, is to finish the city before the 5,000 day mark. Yeah, I have just 1,000 days left to finish the entire project. Okay, should I sleep? Because there it is, the last light of this 1,000 days, and the first of the new. In the past 1,000 days, I updated to 121.4, explored the Pale Garden and built an OP resin farm, built a ridiculous 600,000 per hour gunpowder farm, the entire military district of the city, amethyst, chorus farms, a new bartering sorter, the entire tree complex of 12 fast and unique farms, updated to 121.5 for all the new bushes, grasses, and more, and built farms for all of those. Then we built the guild district in one episode, and today we built 16 new farms, and that's not even everything. Over the next 1,000 days, I'm going to build an Omega super smelter, and then put every bit of focus I have into finishing the city in its entirety. That's the city builds, fields of wheat, large custom trees, all the roads, decor, and more, and all the finishing details and touches, plus a big surprise. As the world fades out, I'll say thanks for watching, please remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon for more hardcore Minecraft. Goodbye.